I'm not sure how many times it has to be said, but the risk to children from this disease for fatality is nearly zero. I never hear anyone talk about the harms of closing schools. The harms are against the children. Anyone who prioritizes children would open the school. This is a level of hysteria. Like, this is something, I feel like I'm living in a Kafka novel here. I mean, I get thousands of emails a week from all over the world. They are stunned that we are willing to just simply destroy our children out of some bizarre notion that is completely contrary to the science.
Fascinating interview last night on Martha McCallum's show. That was senior fellow at Stanford's Hoover Institution and former chief of neuroradiology at Stanford Medical Center. All of this as leaders debate at the state and federal level reopening our schools this fall. States like Florida are now seeing an uptick in cases, unprecedented surges in some areas. The Sunshine State now has more than 280,000 confirmed cases, more than all but 9 countries worldwide. Florida Senator Marco Rubio is chairman of the Intelligence Committee and joins us now with more. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for being here. So I'll ask you the question all of us as parents are asking each other. We're asking the leaders at the local, state, and federal level. Can our kids get back to school safely? Will this happen?
Well, I think it's pretty clear by now that the people running our schools and our states are not going to open up schools as long as infection rates are at a certain level. So I think that puts the onus on all of us, whether you believe it's safe or not, to do everything we can to bring the infection rates under control. That said, I will tell you that I hope as we make these decisions that it undergoes a cost-benefit analysis. Clearly, there is the benefits of closing schools are weighed against the community spread that we're seeing, the outbreaks, and I understand. I mean, it's not inconsequential, and it's a real threat. The costs are significant, though. Imagine if you're a single mother who has to be at work every day at 8 a.m., that your job depends on it. What do you do with your 9-year-old? If schools aren't open, you're probably dropping them off with the lady in the neighborhood who takes care of every kid in the neighborhood. And that's risky, too, not to mention the children aren't learning. And these learning losses are very, very significant. So it has an economic impact. It has a learning impact. It has a long-term impact that'll be with us long after the pandemic has passed. So we've got to weigh the cost of the benefits. And there will always be risk as long as there's no immunity from this virus. So we're going to have to do the best we can and be flexible. But at some point, schools really do need to open.
But let's talk now, because, I mean, we're weeks away, Senator, and this is no longer big picture. We'll talk about it in the fall. I mean, the planning has to be in place to safely get kids back in.
Yeah.
And you go back to what you just heard from the former chief of neuroradiology at Stanford Medical Center, talking about the harm to children if we keep schools closed. He says nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, and that needs to be part of the equation. The harm is more than just learning gains, by the way. I mean, a lot of the child abuse cases in this country are identified first and foremost at the front line in schools when you see kids showing up with bruises and other injuries. So there's a lot of things built into this that are a real cost. And that's why I think, look, every teacher who has a condition or someone at home should have the option of not being able to not be forced to go into work and put their lives in danger or that of their loved ones. Same with students who are in that predicament. So there has to be a non-school option available to people. But I do believe we have to work extra hard to be as flexible as we can to figure out a way to get those who do need to be in school into a brick and mortar facility so they can learn. This is particularly important for working families. And I think more affluent families, this is a big hassle, but they can, I think they're going to figure it out. The ones who are going to be really impacted are working families and low income families and who just don't have those options available to them.
But what can we do realistically? I mean, talk details. You're a senator in a state that is dealing with a spike in cases right now. Florida's a mess. I mean, there's no doubt. You can put it up on the screen. Cases in Florida, 282,435. That is more cases than all but 9 countries around the world, 4,277 deaths. You just heard the doctor talking about the low risk to children. So he says get them back into the classroom. So what details can you provide us about doing that? How do you keep the teachers safe? How do you get them back into the brick and mortar, as you said?
Well, a couple points. The first is Florida's an enormous state. We have 67 counties, and we have a number of counties that find themselves in the situation you're describing. And then we have counties that are not in that place. And I think those counties should move forward with the ability to start school on time. Second is I think we need to really go and have a comprehensive understanding of what the best practices are for opening up of schools. We can learn from the experience of other countries that have done it, but also from daycare centers, many of whom have been open the entire time, and we haven't, we have been able to do so relatively safely. I think we have to go into it with the assumption, by the way, that you're never going to be 100% here. As long as this virus is spread from person to person, we have to mitigate risk, but we cannot eliminate it. And so I think it's a combination of technology, a combination of scheduling, of spacing, of protective equipment, of best practices, distancing, and other things. In some parts, places where you can teach outdoors, which we know is a safer setting. I don't think that there has been established sort of this best practices criteria for places that do need to open. And then I think every county is going to have to make a decision based on their local conditions and what that implies. But the one thing I'd love to see is some sort of matrix of best practices that don't make the risk zero, but that substantially lower the risk for both the teachers and for the students who can take it back home and infect parents and grandparents.
It's important to point out that every parent wants to ensure the safety of their child, but every parent is concerned about the future of their child as well and their education, and they want to see a priority on children in this country. This Georgetown professor put out a fascinating piece in the Wall Street Journal talking about young people sacrifice their lives. They stayed home to protect somebody like him in a high-risk category. He said, now it's my obligation as a teacher to get back on campus this fall. He writes, why I'll be on campus. For me, missing 1 year in the classroom is not much of a sacrifice. But my undergraduate students have only 4 years in college, and my law students only 3 in law school. I have clear memories of how personally meaningful and fleeting those years are. Those are the conversations we want to hear. We know that there's risks, but we do want to get the sense of urgency that these teachers, superintendents, and then of course the mayors and the governors of these states are placing urgency on this and prioritizing kids and prioritizing education. Final thoughts, Senator.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's the part of the costs that are not being taken into account, the costs of not reopening. Look, people are going to work every day. They're going to work at the grocery store. They're going to work at Walgreens, Walmart, CVS. They're picking up garbage. They're police and fire. They're the janitors at hospitals. People are going to work every day, and we're having to protect them. Some of those similar expectations should be placed on those in the education system. We have to figure out a way to get back into school. Maybe we start a little later. Maybe you're flexible about the scheduling, but it has to happen because, again, the biggest losers here in this decision-making is going to be lower income and working families who do not have those options available to them to simply leave their kids at home and not have a school that is open. And so I do hope that we take it more seriously. It's not the sort of decisions that should be made cavalierly on the basis of sort of some of the pressure that people are getting in the public square.
I want to finish off by asking about you, Senator Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz as well, Congressman Chris Smith, and the Ambassador for Religious Freedom, Sam Brownback. You've been targeted now by China with sanctions because you've been critical of the country's actions toward minority groups and people of faith. What is happening there, and can you give us an update on the situation, Senator?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, China is a totalitarian regime that oppresses its own people, that is jailing over 1 million Uyghur Muslims and trying to change their identity, strip them of their cultural identity, their religious identity, their names. They call it re-education camps. In many cases, these are not. These are actually forced labor camps. It's an outrage. And I'll continue to speak out on it. I had no intention of traveling to China anytime soon anyway. I didn't think they were going to roll out the welcome mat. But it shows me I'm actually proud of it. You know, honestly, I didn't look for it, but I'm proud of that ban because it shows we're on the right side. Anytime a totalitarian and evil regime is against you, you know you're on the right side.
All right, Senator Marco Rubio from Florida, we always appreciate getting on the show. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.